Ron Kennali, the internationally recognized gospel singer and worship leader, passed away on February 3, 2026 at the age of 81. His death was confirmed by individuals close to his ministry and members of the global worship community. No specific medical cause of death was publicly disclosed, as his family chose to keep details surrounding his passing private. The announcement marked the end of a career that played a significant role in shaping modern praise and worship practices in churches around the world. Ron Kennali was widely known for his influence on contemporary congregational worship. Over several decades, his music, leadership style, and teachings contributed to changes in how praise services were structured, encouraging broader participation and musical accessibility. His work reached churches across denominations and continents, making him one of the most recognized figures in modern worship history. Born on December 6, 1944 in Coffeyville, Kansas, United States, Ronald Kenneth Kennali developed an interest in music early in life. He demonstrated musical discipline from a young age and pursued music seriously rather than casually. His early exposure to structured environments helped shape the professional approach that later defined his ministry and leadership style. Before entering full-time ministry, Kennali explored music in non-religious settings. These early experiences contributed to his understanding of performance standards, vocal development, and musical arrangement. They also helped him build confidence and professionalism, skills that later supported his transition into faith-based music. In the 1960s, Kennali served in the United States Air Force, where he continued to perform music while gaining experience in organized musical groups. Military service influenced his work ethic, emphasizing discipline, preparation, and teamwork. Kennali later credited this period with shaping his consistent and structured approach to worship leadership, noting that music required responsibility regardless of context. After completing his military service, Kennali briefly pursued secular music, including rhythm and blues, performing under the stage name Ron Keith. During this period, he explored commercial opportunities and developed professionally as a performer. Despite the potential for success in the secular music industry, Kennali later stated that he experienced a growing spiritual conviction that led him to reconsider his direction. That conviction resulted in a shift away from secular performance toward Christian worship and ministry. Rather than abandoning music altogether, Kennali redirected his focus, believing that music should serve a spiritual purpose instead of functioning solely as entertainment. This belief became central to his work and shaped his future contributions to worship music. Kennali's ministry gained wider recognition during the 1980s when he became the worship leader at Jubilee Christian Center in San Jose, California. At the church, he developed a worship format that emphasized extended praise sessions, choir-supported arrangements, and active congregational involvement. This approach differed from more traditional worship structures common at the time and began influencing churches beyond his local congregation. Under Kennali's leadership, worship services encouraged congregational participation through singing, clapping, and responsive praise. His methods promoted engagement rather than observation, a shift that gradually gained acceptance in many churches. As interest in contemporary worship grew, his influence expanded nationally. In the early 1990s, Kennali released a series of live worship recordings captured during services at Jubilee Christian Center. These recordings played a major role in extending his reach beyond the local church environment. Unlike studio-produced albums, the recordings focused on capturing live congregational worship, emphasizing authenticity over production. Albums such as Lift Him Up became widely used by churches seeking to develop contemporary worship programs. The recordings introduced worship music that centered on participation and repetition, making it easier for congregations to follow and engage. As a result, Kennali's music became a common resource for worship leaders worldwide. Several of his songs gained widespread recognition and became regularly used in church services. Among the most notable were Ancient of Days, Jesus is Alive, We Offer Praises, and God is Able. These songs were translated into multiple languages and adopted across denominations. Their structure emphasized scriptural themes, simple melodies, and repetitive lyrics, allowing congregations with varying musical ability to participate fully. Kennali's music was characterized by clarity and accessibility rather than complexity. His songwriting avoided technical difficulty in favor of congregational usability. This approach contributed to the longevity of his music and ensured its continued use decades after initial release. Beyond songwriting and recording, Kennali was recognized for his teaching on worship leadership. He consistently stated that worship leaders carried spiritual responsibility and should prioritize integrity and preparation over visibility. He emphasized that worship was not performance-driven but functioned as spiritual leadership. Through conferences, seminars, and training programs, Kenoly influenced generations of worship leaders. His teachings focused on humility, discipline, and theological grounding. Many leaders later credited his instruction with shaping their understanding of congregational worship and leadership responsibility. Kenoly's influence extended well beyond the United States. His music and worship model were widely adopted in churches throughout Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Europe. In many regions, his recordings served as foundational materials for contemporary worship development. His ability to maintain theological consistency while allowing musical flexibility contributed to his global reach. As his career progressed, Kenoly gradually reduced his involvement in large public events and touring. He focused more on teaching, writing, and private ministry activities. This transition reflected his emphasis on sustainable leadership and long-term service rather than ongoing public visibility. Despite fewer public appearances, his music continued to circulate widely. Churches continued using his recordings, and new generations of worship leaders encountered his work through digital platforms, training programs, and church resources. Ron Kennali was married twice. His first wife, Tavita Kenoly, was his long-term partner during the early and middle years of his ministry. Together, they had 3 sons. Tavita maintained a private public presence while supporting Kenoly's ministry. Following her death, Kenoly remained unmarried for several years. He later married Diana Kenoly, his second wife. Diana maintained a low public profile and was not involved in public ministry or music production. Their marriage reflected Kenoly's later life focus on privacy and personal stability. No public statements were made regarding their relationship, and details were kept within family circles. In his personal life, Kenoly maintained a structured and private lifestyle. He was not known for public displays of wealth or celebrity behavior. His activities largely centered on ministry-related work, teaching, and family responsibilities. Associates described his lifestyle as disciplined and focused rather than entertainment-oriented. Ron Kennali's estimated net worth at the time of his death ranged between $1 million and $3 million. His income was derived from music sales, worship recordings, teaching engagements, ministry activities, and royalties. He did not publicly discuss financial matters, and no detailed financial disclosures were released. Following confirmation of his death, tributes were shared by pastors, worship leaders, gospel musicians, and church communities worldwide. Many credited Kenoly with shaping modern praise practices and influencing worship leadership across generations. Churches honored his legacy by continuing to sing his songs and apply the worship principles he taught. Ron Kennali's legacy is defined by his contributions to congregational worship rather than personal recognition. His work helped establish practices that remain central to contemporary worship services. Although his public career concluded years before his death, his influence continues through the worship culture he helped shape. His passing marked the end of a significant chapter in modern gospel music history, but his impact remains active within churches around the world.